Hey guys, welcome back. We're on day 3 now. Conversions. All right. In chemistry, we do a lot of conversions. We're going to convert a lot of things, right? And you think about that's what reactions are. A reaction, you take some substances and you convert them into something else, right? If you're a cook, if you cook, you bake, bakers, right? They take these ingredients and they convert it into something we're going to eat, right? Hopefully that tastes amazing, right? Like some of you can, right? And so we're going to do some basic measurement conversions to get the fundamentals down, right? And so a conversion, right? 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters exactly. 1 cubic centimeter is a milliliter. 5,280 feet is a mile, right? So let's do some examples. 14 inches to centimeters. Now, this is the amount we're going to start with, which would be 14.0 inches, 3 sig figs. All right, we're going to multiply that by, all right, what? Well, we want to cancel, okay? Because you guys know that x divided by x is 1. And 5 divided by 5 is 1, right? And any number, if you have 17, it's the same thing as 17 over 1. All right? And so we're technically going to have this 14 over 1, but we don't going to write that. Okay? And so on the bottom here, I have inches, or on top I have inches. I need inches on the bottom. I want inches down here. All right? And I have an inch to centimeter conversion. I can do that. So we know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. All right, so 14 inches, and you do the math, you get 35.56. Or, since I have 3 sig figs to start with, right, let's write this out. I have 3 sig figs. This is exact. So I get to have 3 here. This happens to be 4, so we have to round. That number right there is a 6, so we got to round up to 35.6 centimeters. So 14 inches is the same as 35.6 centimeters. All right, so that's a good example of distance, and that's actually an English to metric conversion. Next one, we're going to do volume. Now, millimeters, this is very important. Millimeters, this is linear. Volume is cubic. So there are some volume measurements that are cubic. Like a liter is cubic. A gallon is cubic. All right? Pint, quart, whatnot. However, meters, feet, not cubic. Right? So when you buy cubic feet of mulch, right, it's a cubic or a cubic yard of dirt, right? They're multiplying that yard by three times, right? It's cubing it. So let's take a look here. I have 80 millimeters cubed. Now, one thing I'm going to do, right, is that if you look up here, right, you see how we have, right, I can almost make a line here and here, right, because I have 14 over 1 times 2.54 over 1. And so if I just do this, right, I can do that, and it's the same thing as the multiplication. It makes it a little neater, so I can keep it straighter. All right, what has to go on the bottom? Millimeters. So millimeters, and we're going to meters on top. Now, there's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. However, there happens to be, these have to be cubed, right? Because technically it's 1,000 millimeters by 1,000 millimeters by 1,000 millimeters by 1 meter times 1 meter times 1 meter, right? So if you think of a cube, right? If I can make that perfect, you got a cube here. Right? It's 1,000 millimeters or 1 meter. And then this is 1,000 millimeters or 1 meter. And this is 1,000 millimeters or 1 meter. So hopefully that makes sense why we're cubing it, because it's a meter by a meter by a meter, or 1,000 millimeters by 1,000 millimeters by 1,000 millimeters. All right. So if you do this math, you're going to get, I have 3 sig figs. So if you notice, we have 3 sig figs here. So we are going to get 8.00 times 10 to the minus 8 meters cubed. So you got to keep 3 sig figs. So that would be an example of a volume conversion. Next one is compound units. Compound units. So I have 60 kilometers an hour into meters per second. All right. So now I'll take my 60. All right. There we go. Kilometers per hour. Now we have to do 2 different steps. A lot of times we'll do 1, 2, right? We got to convert the kilometers, and then we got to convert the hours. So kilometers to meters. Most people just start there. Do you have to? No. But most people start there. All right, so we're going to start with the kilometers. So kilometers go on the bottom, and we're going to meters, and we know kilometers are prefix. It means 1,000, right? So there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. And that's done. Then, hours. And so we'll do this. 1 hour, which I expect you guys to know there are 60 minutes. And in 1 minute, there are 60 seconds. Now, just so you guys know, if you ever see me work, 6 times 6 is 36 and 00. 3,600 seconds is 1 hour. And you are allowed to just write down the 1 step. I know what you're talking about, okay? If you're not comfortable doing that, that's fine. You don't have to do it. All right, so if we do this, you get 16.6 repeating meters per second. And if we look at our sig figs, I have, 1 sig fig. So that means I get to keep 1. So this becomes 20 meters per second. Right, so if you remember previously we talked about, it feels like when we multiply and divide, sometimes we lose information. Some of you, right, have experience with this, right, in real events. And it might not be kilometers per hour, but it might have been miles an hour. And you might have told somebody that you rounded a little differently than they measured in their, right, how fast you were going. That may have happened, right? And sometimes it's the sunny side of the rounding. You don't necessarily follow the round down rules, all right? And round up rules. And so 60 kilometers an hour, are you going 60? Were you going 58? Were you going 61? Right? So we don't really know. And so you can't really say you're going 16.7 or even 17 meters per second. You could be going 19 meters per second. You could be going 15 meters per second. So we just said 20 meters per second, 1 sig fig, we're done. All right? So those are 3 examples of conversions. Now, we are going to do a lot. So there's a lot of conversions coming up, all right? And we're going to go through them. I'm going to talk through them, and we'll see, hopefully, that you get this down, all right? So converting English to English units, 1.25 miles to inches. So 1.25 mile. All right. Now, sometimes there's more than one way to do this, okay? All right, sometimes there's more than one way to convert. And if there's more than one way, that's okay. So we're going to do mile. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And then we know that 1 foot is 12 inches. And if we do that, I get 79,200 inches. Now you can write this as 7.92 times 10 to the 4th inches. Either one is fine. It does not specify scientific notation or not. All right, 1.5 tons to ounces. So I start with 1.5 tons. And we know that on the bottom has to be ton, so 1 ton. And if you look, you will have information. You don't have to memorize, oh man, how many pounds are in a ton. That's not the goal of the course, okay? But there's 2,000 pounds in a ton. And then we have 1 pound is 16 ounces. So if we do that, we get 48,000 ounces, which 4.8 times 10 to the 4th ounces would probably be a better way to report that number. Okay. 1.2 gallons of teaspoons. Again, there's multiple ways to do this. Just like there's multiple ways to fold a towel, for example. Some of you might disagree with that, but there's multiple ways to fold a towel. All right? There's multiple ways to do the conversion. I'm going to do it so that we have everything written out. All right? So 1.2 gallons. Because most of us don't know all these things. It's not. There we go. Alrighty. So on the bottom has to be gallons. And I'm going to go to quarts. Because 1 gallon, 4 quarts. Most people know that. Most people don't know how many ounces are in a gallon, but most people know how many quarts are in a gallon. And then we'll go quarts to pints. So 1 quart. Right on the bottom, 2 pints. And then after that, pints has to go on the bottom. So 1 pint. We're going to go to cups. 2 pints, or 2 cups in a pint. After cups, let's go to ounces. 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces, which is different than the ounces here, right? Those ounces are weight. These ounces are volume, which is fun. And then, let's see here. I'll do this one. 1 fluid ounce is 6 teaspoons. And so that gives us 921.6, which I have 2 sig figs, so that's 920 teaspoons. Hopefully you don't have to measure 1.2 gallons by teaspoons. That would be not so fun. All right, number 4, 2,970 feet per second to miles an hour. Here we go. We have 2,970 feet per second. All right, so we know that there are 5,280 feet to 1 mile. And now we know from before that there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So that gives us what? 20,000 or 2,025. And I have 3 sig figs, so that gives me 2,030 miles per hour. There we go. So there's 4 English to English conversions. Hopefully they make sense, it flows. The next page is metric to metric, and these seem to be easier for a lot of us once we are used to the prefixes. All right, so 1.75 meters. All right, we do our 1.75 meters. What has to go on the bottom? Meters. Top, millimeters. 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters. And so we get 1,750 millimeters. That's it. Now, number 6, I'm going to do it 2 ways. All right. The first way, if you take 450 nanometers and do the multiplication like this, right? There we go. We know that nanometers on the bottom, meters at top. Meter is much bigger than a nanometer, right? There is 1 times 10 to the negative, or to the positive 9 nanometers in 1 meter. All right, and that gives us 4.5 times 10 to the negative 7th meters. All right. If we look at the prefix right here, this prefix, it's 10 to the minus 9, right? So I can just go 450 times 10 to the minus 9 meters, and I'm good. That's correct, all right? And most of us can use a calculator that can just type in 450 times 10 to the negative 9. Do you have to make it 4.5 times 10 to the negative 7th? Maybe, if that's what the answer requires. But if you're just using the number, do you have to make it perfect? No. Okay? All right, so how does this work? Because I just told you that it's times 10 to the negative 9, but then I wrote 10 times 10 to the positive 9 here, but this is negative 9. So how is that working? All right? Well, let's talk about that. All right, 1 nanometer is the same thing as 1 times 10 to the negative 9 meters, which means if I multiply that by 1 times 10 to the positive 9, I get 1. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Because nano is a billionth, I have a billionth of a meter, right? Negative 9 is a billionth. I need a billion billionths to get to my 1. All right? So a nano is a billionth. It's a tiny, tiny amount, right? So 450 billionths of a meter is 450 nanometers, all right? So that's how it works. We get, nano is a billionth. This is a billionth, right? This is what it means. So I need to multiply it by a billion to get to 1. That's where that works from. That's how those negative exponents work. Number 7. 16 milligrams per deciliter to kilograms per cubic meter. All right, let's go with this. 16 milligrams per deciliter. All righty. Well, milligrams first, let's go. So we'll put milligram to kilogram. Now, there are some of you who are fantastic at the metric system. And if you can just put that down, feel free. I am not going to do that. I'm going to go from milligrams to gram and grams to kilograms. All right? So, I got 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram. And 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram. So now I'm in kilograms, which is fantastic. Deciliters to cubic meters. Well, deciliter, there are, deci is 1/10, so there's 10 deciliters to a liter. And there are 1,000 liters to 1 meter cubed. All right, so metric system. I'm going to slow down a minute and do this. If you look, milligram, milligram. All right, and then we have, well, let's do this, gram, gram, and we're left with kilogram. Deciliter, deciliter, liter, liter, we're left with cubic meters. All right. Now, the math. I have 1,000 there and 1,000 there. So basically, I have a 0 there. I'm going to take that 0 off and that 0 off. So I really have 16 divided by 100. Right? And so 16 divided by 100, that's 10, that's 100. So it's, right, 0.16 kilograms per meter cubed. Right? That's how that's why I like the metric system. Right? Not because I think it's better or that I don't like the feet and miles and all that stuff. That's why I like the metric system. So when we do that, because basically chemistry, it's nice. Same thing with number 8. I have 1430 centimeters cubed. And we'll do this very long for us so we can see it. But we've learned that 1 centimeter cubed is 1 milliliter. And then we have learned that 1,000 milliliters is 1 liter. So if we do that, if you look at this, we're just dividing by 1,000, right? Which means we have 1.430 liters. All right. Hopefully this is, you're seeing the patterns. Let's do the English and metric. There's a few more and then we'll be done. So we're about halfway. 4,000 feet to centimeters. So 4,000 feet, now I have 1 sig fig. All right. 4,000 feet. Right? And we know that, and we times a foot, and we're going to go to centimeters. What's the key? I like inches to centimeters, right? Because you have to. You might find a foot to centimeter conversion. And some of you like to use Google for everything, which I caution you, especially now since they're using AI to do things. I would use your sheets, and inches to centimeter is fantastic because it's an exact number and it's 2.54. It's only one you have to know really. So feet to inches, 1 foot, 2.54 inches, and then we have 1 inch. I'm sorry, I messed that up, didn't I? I was thinking ahead. This is 2.54 centimeters. How many inches are in a foot? There we go. That's better. And so now, if we do this, we get 121. Oh, I'm erasing, not writing. 121,920 centimeters. Or, all right, how many sig figs? 1. So I look there, 100,000 centimeters, which would be better as 1 times 10 to the 5th centimeters. So this is why we want to use more and more sig figs, right? The more sig figs you measure, the more accurate your measurement is, or the more precise your measurement is, the more numbers you get to keep. 18.5 yards to meters. So 18.5 yards and yards to meters. Now, I'm sure there is a yard to meter conversion. I don't know it off the top of my head. I know that 1 yard, is 3 feet. And then I know from above that 1 foot is 12 inches. All right. And then I know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Did it right that time. And then we know that, I don't want to erase. We know that 100 centimeters is 1 meter. And there we go. So I get 16.9164. 3 sig figs, 16.9 meters. So 18.5 yards is almost 17 meters, but it's 16.9 meters. All right. If you think about that, 0.1 meters is decent enough, right? That's a good size. 10 centimeters. That's big. 10K, right? So you runners out there, 10K, 10 kilometers. All right, 10K to miles. Now, we know that 1.609 kilometers is 1 mile. So if you look at track nowadays, they don't actually call it the mile. I mean, some people still call it the mile, right? Because there's still people who ran it as a mile. Like my father's still alive. When he was in high school, the tracks were in yards. So it wasn't the 100 meter sprint, it was the 110, right? 220, 440, right? And they actually had a mile. Now it's meters, it's 400 meters, the track, and so 4 laps is 1,600 meters. And actually call it the 1,600 now. Some people still refer to it the mile, but it's not quite a mile. If we do this, we get 6.2150,404. Well, 1 sig figs, 6 miles. So it's actually 6.22 miles, but depends on how accurate your measurement is. And some of us, you have smartphones or watches, you go on a run, and if you don't have the GPS, right, in the app, you can be off by quite a bit, right? Now, a lot of times people have Garmin watches, and they're pretty good with GPS. They're within feet. They're pretty nice. But some people don't, and if you're just using that phone app, you can be off by quite a bit, which is fine. So you're just out there going and getting it, and that's good. 145 pounds to kilograms. All right, so 145 lbs's. Well, let's do it this way. And this is just a one step. And so we have 2.205 pounds is 1 kilogram. All right, so I get 65.7596372. Well, that's a lot. I got 3 sig figs, 145, and so I get to keep 3, 6, 5, the 7, and that's a 5, so 65.8 kilograms. There we go. All right, now I want to dive into some examples of area. Right? How do we do area? Then we want to do volume. Area and volume and a couple more compound units. Right? Just to make sure that we've done examples of all of these for you so you have a reference. 1,500 square centimeters to square inches. All right, so 1,500 centimeters squared. All right. And we're going to do it this way first. So a square centimeter, right? Centimeters times centimeters, inches times inches, right? And it is 2.54 centimeters by 2.54 centimeters by an inch times an inch. All right, so the 2.54 has to be squared on the bottom. And depending on your calculator, if you take 1,500 divided by 2.54, divide again by 2.54. If you are not using the squared button, and depending on what calculator you're using, like if you're just using a phone or basic calculator, you have to do 1,500 divided by 2.54, divide by 2.54, or divide by 2.54 squared. All right, because the order operations matter. My recommendation: everything on the bottom, you hit divide. Everything on top, you hit multiply. And if we do this, I think we get 232.500465, which I have 2 sig figs, so that becomes 230 inches squared. All right, so there you go. All right, 250 square meters to square feet. Those of you who ever watch House Hunters International, right? If you like that type of stuff, they give square footage in America, but they don't do square footage in Europe and the rest of the world. They do square meters, which is drastically different. So how big is 250 square meters? Is that a good sized place or a bad sized place? Some of you move a lot or have moved before, and you want to know how big is this next place. And we have these rough estimates in our head. How big? 1,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet. And we have these square feet benchmarks, right? And, most of us think that 1,000 square feet or less is small, which in America it kind of is. 2,000 square feet to 3,000 square feet's a good size house, right? That families can live in there very comfortably. And over 3,000, that's a big house, right? That's a lot of house. And then you got 4,000 square feet. It's like, wow, that's huge, right? And so we have these benchmarks in our head, but how does that compare to square meters? So if we do 250 meters squared, and again, myself, what do I know? I always go to centimeters and inches. So I know that 1 meter squared is 100 centimeters squared. I'm going to have to make this longer. And then we know that 2.54 centimeters squared is 1 inch squared. Then one more. We have 12 inches squared is 1 foot squared. So if we do this, I think we get 2690.9776, or to 2 sig figs, 2,700 feet squared, which is bigger than my house with my family of 5. So to me, that's a very good size house. That's a big house, if that was a house. So 250 square meters, saying, oh, that's small. No, that's pretty big. Next one, talk about house buying, acres. Every time, if you go to a house, whether you rent one, buy one, right? How big is that the lot? And they'll tell you, the realtor will tell you, oh, it's this many acres. Whether it's less than an acre, it's 0.8 acres, 0.4 acres, 2 acres, and we just nod our heads like we know exactly how big an acre is. It's kind of fun. All right, and so let's learn how big an acre is. So 1 acre right? So 1 acre happens to be 43,560 square feet. All right, and so that gives us 43,560 feet squared. But with 1 sig fig, that is 40,000 feet squared. All right. Now, if you have a survey of a property, if you're actually doing this, applying this to land buying, they're more precise than just 1 acre. But a lot of times it's not. A lot of times you'll have like 0.25 acres or 0.6 acres or whatever. So it may not be more than sig figs that you get. All right. Couple volumes. So we have 35 cubic feet to cubic meters. 35 feet cubed. All right, so we know that 1 foot cubed is 12 inches cubed. All right. And again, this is how I do it. You can go, if there's going to be a conversion, feet to meters maybe, feel free to just do that. Okay. But I don't have to look it up. And then we have 1 inch cubed is 2.54 centimeters cubed. And last but not least, 100 centimeters cubed, 1 meter cubed. And so if we do this, I think we get 0.99108963, which would be 0.99 meter cubed. So 35 cubic feet is almost a cubic meter. Kind of neat. 55 gallons, 2 cubic centimeters. So 55 gallons. We have 1 gallon. Now, that is 3.7854 liters. Now, a lot of the guys typically know this because a lot of times when you go to your restroom, the urinal has 1 gallon or 3.8 liters per flush. All right? And so a lot of times people will see that. So that's what a gallon is, 3.7854 liters. And then we know that 1 liter is 1,000 centimeter cubed. So if we do this, we get, what, 208,197. So that gives us, how many sig figs? 2. So we get 210,000 centimeters cubed. 2.1 times 10 to the 5th centimeters cubed is probably the best answer there, because now there's no, you avoid the ambiguity of the 210,000. 1,400 milliliters to cubic yards. 1,400 milliliters. There we go, nice and smooth. We have milliliter on the bottom. All right, what should we go to? Well, I'm probably just going to go to centimeters cubed. And it's 1 to 1. And then centimeters to inches. All right, 2.54 centimeters cubed gives me 1 inch cubed. And then we have 36 inches cubed, 1 yard cubed. So there we go. And if we do that, I believe it is 0.0018603, which would be 2 sig figs, 0.0019, or 1.9 times 10 to the minus third yard cubed. Hopefully that is correct. I think that's correct. All right. Compound units. Home stretch, guys. Home stretch. 4 more to go. 205 miles an hour to feet per second. So if I do 205 miles an hour, all right, and hopefully you've been feel free to pause this or just do this and then see if it's right. And we have 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And so now I got feet, and now we got seconds. 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. And so that gives us what? 300.6 repeating. So that gives me, I have 3 sig figs, so I get 301 feet per second. Well, 301 feet per second. That's fast, right? 300 feet, which, so that, think about that. 300 feet is a whole football field from goal line to goal line. You're going that fast in a second. That is fast, right? That is fast. Okay, 65 kilometers an hour to miles an hour. Now, I picked this one because we are not converting everything, are we? We're actually keeping hours because we want hours. We're keeping it. So we're not changing that. We're just doing the first, all right, kilometers to mile. And we know that 1.609 kilometers is 1 mile. and that's it. We're good. We don't have to do anything else, and that happens at times. So that gives me 40.3977625, which happens to be, I got two sig figs, 40 miles an hour. All right, 95 milligrams per deciliter to grams per liter. Let's do it. 95 milligrams per deciliter. All right, so now we have milligrams, so milligrams to grams. I'll do 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram. And then we'll do deciliters up here, liters, and it looks like there are 10 deciliters in a liter. All right, and so if we do this, I get 0.95 grams per liter. All right. And we got 125 grams per cubic centimeter to pounds per cubic inch. So 125 grams per centimeter cubed. Metric density, and we're going to an English density. So grams to pounds. So off the top of my head, I don't remember. It's like 454 or 452. I get it's around 450, but I get the number mixed up. Will you have that information? Absolutely. You can use it. I don't expect you to know it. I don't know it. Why would I expect you to know it? However, I know grams to pounds easy. So we got 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram. And 1 kilogram is 2.205 pounds, LBSs. So then we got pounds. And now centimeters to inch. We know that 2.54 centimeters cubed is 1 inch cubed. And if we do that, I get 4.5166845, I believe, which gives me 4.52 pounds per inch cubed, or cubic inch. There you go. Well, there is 22 conversions. Now, there's a whole bunch more if you want to practice. All right. I'm going to stop the video now. You're more welcome to practice those, and I'll probably just end up posting those in the learning management system on the web for you guys, so that you can do it. If you need more help, feel free to reach out to me, ask me questions. Until next time, take care, guys.